Morning, good afternoon for some of you. Good morning, good afternoon, to all of you. We will wait just a few minutes to let our colleagues join, but good to see all of you. Jay, Shelley did pass on your note, and I'll leave a few minutes at the end for you to talk through those. Um, While we're getting started, I don't know, topic of conversation, anybody? How is the weather out where you are? Are you getting summer? Too much summer? Anyone?
We have World Cup and rainy weather in Atlanta.
How is World Cup? Is it madness?
A lot of my community works in the restaurant industry, so yes, in our side of things.
Yeah, I know, and I have family in New York, and getting out to the New Jersey World Cup stadium is like everybody keeps jacking up and up and up the prices. So like there's just like people milling everywhere who thought they were going but can't get there. So yeah, it's like $200 to get from New York City to the stadium.
Wow, I heard that they were trying to work on the trains, but I mean, I know Atlanta, it's kind of like your mom's getting ready last minute for guests that yeah, there's so much construction the past 2 weeks just everywhere. So I wonder if they're feeling that too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the trains purposefully jacked up. So it typically there's New Jersey Transit for like, I don't know, $8, something like that. But they took advantage of the demand to say, hey, we should make a bunch of money, maybe. So. Good morning. Let us get underway. So our topic, or sorry, I don't know why I say good morning because it's not even morning where I am, let alone where, well, I guess some of you could be in Europe and it's even earlier, but whatever. It is not morning here and where some of you are, though it is other places. Our topic for today is thinking about ways to track inventory of the articles you have. So, different systems people are using, tips and tricks, what we can learn from each other about kind of some of that infrastructural stuff. And we're going to use a format similar to what we did last month, where I'm going to ask people to take maybe a minute and a half to introduce themselves and where they work, and then just say a little bit about how you're currently tracking your articles. Are you just using the platform that you're managing your website in? Do you have them in a spreadsheet? Do you have them in an Airtable? Do you have, and maybe just a word or two about how that's working for you? And I am gonna go just left to right on what I'm seeing in my screen and call some people. Ooh, Shelly just disappeared. Shelly, are you still there? You willing to?
I'm here.
Great.
I am happy to share. Let's see. So we are using Airtable. Let me get it open so you can see it as well. And
Oh, let's
I,
not demo right this second. So
oh,
I
okay.
am gonna ask people to demo. Sorry, and I actually pre-upped that with Shelly. But just a minute or so about what you're doing to give people a sense.
Okay. So we track, we use Airtable to track everything in there, what we have on our website, what's current. When we add a new page, we add it. We're using it to give status, whether it is live, whether it is archived, um, like dates that it was last updated, maybe dates that we need to think about looking at it again. Um, we also, for future employees, we have the topics that we are that we have available on our website. So if you've been to our website, you notice we have several main topics. And so those are all listed in tables in Airtable. So we're basically trying to make it a one-stop shop to find out all information about the Airtable, what forms are live on our website, where they are. We're not there. It's a work in progress, but that's kind of what we're using it for.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shelley. Sarah.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm Sarah. I'm the Legal Education Project Coordinator at Montana Legal Services Association. And right now it's just a simple spreadsheet for keeping track of those articles with some hyperlinks. But I think this had come up in a previous meeting. I am a big fan of Airtable. I've used it at past workplaces and would love to, yeah, see how others are using it and maybe try and implement that because the simple spreadsheet is better than nothing, but I would love to be able to do the same of tracking dates and whether it's live or not. So looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. Jay. Sorry, I will
Yes.
do
Hi.
people and then the next up. So Jay now, and then Laura is the next person I'm seeing on my screen. So Jay right now.
Thanks. I had to find the unmute button. Um, we are using our website, each article itself and custom fields to keep track of the history of edits as well as the current status and view that content in spreadsheet format right within the site and can export as we needed to any other format.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jay. Fantastic. And Laura next, and on deck, Marion. Laura.
Hi, Laura Klingler with the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, and we are not tracking our website content. So I have a lot to learn, and I am eager to hear from all of you.
Fantastic. Terrific. Thank you, Marion. And on deck is Karen.
Hi, I'm Marianne Fraley. I'm Communications Director for Legal Aid of Southeastern PA and also wear the hat for the website as well. We are not tracking current, I don't have a great spreadsheet, even a spreadsheet at this point. So I too hope to learn some ideas for that.
Terrific.
And I'm hoping that we'll get to take a peek in that Airtable that was shown briefly.
Yes, absolutely. That's in fact where we're going to go next. Oh, I actually forgot to finish my summary of our format. We're going to go through this. We're then I'm going to pick out some that seem particularly interesting and a little distinct from each other to ask people to potentially do some demos. I, in fact, already queued up Shelley because I knew she was doing interesting things in Airtable. Jay, you've also caught my ear. If you might be willing to demo for us in just a few minutes, I will give you a warning that I'm going to ask you for that. Fantastic. Karen is next, and Angel is on deck. Angel? Sorry. Forgive me. Karen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Heredia. I have consulted on various legal aid websites. I currently work at Law Help New York, and we we were using Airtable, but then we did like a massive kind of like unpublishing and stuff years ago. And so it was harder to maintain just kind of this huge Airtable. And so then we shifted to spreadsheets because using Drupal, it's easy to kind of download a list of the CSV of articles based on the criteria or the filters that you use. So now we're all spreadsheets, which works well and I think works also for a small team as well.
Great. Thank you, Karen. And Angel, or if you could tell us how to pronounce your name. I apologize if I've messed it up.
Yeah, no problem. I'm Angel, a little bit different. And I'm with Pisgah Legal Services in Asheville, North Carolina. We are not really tracking much of anything at this point. The only thing we are tracking is our client stories, which we're just doing in a simple spreadsheet. But I would like to start implementing something a little bit more in depth. So I'm interested in hearing what other people are doing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Angela. And I have, is it Christine, that I am seeing next? Sorry, I forgot to do my on deck, and Virginia on deck.
My name is Christine. I work with Michigan Indian Legal Services. I just started this position on Monday, so I'm still learning everything. I'm the client community advocate and primarily work with advisory committee as well, working from the internal and external point to start from ground up on the website. I know we do track the client surveys and the client stories, but that's as far as I know of right now. So I'm interested in learning what everything else is.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome. We're so excited to have you in the community. And Virginia, and I think that might be all. If you could raise your hand if I haven't yet called on you. Virginia.
Hi, I'm Virginia O'Reilly. I work at Atlanta Legal Aid and manage Georgia's Law Help website, georgialegalaid.org. We didn't have a process, and so when I got this, I built it out in a shared drive on Google Workspace, and I made this Excel sheet, and basically can copy the Excel sheet for working with volunteers and have just one for volunteers, can copy it with working with interns, and have kind of admin notes on the drafted pages. So when I get attorneys to collaborate, it's right there. But we'll be moving to a different platform soon, getting Lacey and updated Law Help backend with Scale Justice. So I'm excited for that, to not have multiple places, just one.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. If you are up for it, Virginia, that sounds like that might be an interesting kind of to look at your spreadsheet ecosystem to look at. So before we go to any of the demos, is there anyone who hasn't introduced themselves? I see actually somebody is in the waiting room, so I will admit her and we will put her on the spot. Fantastic. We will ask Jennifer, and Jennifer, I'll tell you what we're asking you in just a moment. And then we will move on to do some demos. And I'm thinking maybe Shelley, if you could start us out. And then Jay, if you're willing. Jay, are you willing to demo? Great, thank you. And then Virginia, we will see maybe just a couple minutes. I'm not thinking of anything grand. And then we'll wind up with some small group discussions as we did last month. Everybody seemed to enjoy that. And we'll close out with kind of tips, tricks, what we learned. Fantastic. Jennifer, what we're talking about today is the platforms in which we are tracking our articles. So what articles we have, if any platforms, many of us have no specific so either using the content management system or it's just kind of there's no system yet. So if you could introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, and just talk for a minute or so about what you're using, if anything, to manage your content inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. One, I'm sorry to be late. I was desperately trying to get off a call to get here, and so I did the best I could. I am Jennifer Simmons. I'm here in North Carolina. I work with our Equal Access to Justice Commission, and specifically, we're running a legal support center and a call center that gives out legal information. But we've got quite a lot of projects that have got legal information spread out either online available to the public or online saved in a Google Drive. And so I'm spending time going through all of that and cataloging it, inventorying it, and trying to classify it into some kind of text taxonomy that then we'll go back and like make sure it's all legally sufficient and hopefully update the stuff that needs updating. It's definitely a big project. I created an Airtable database to catalog as part of this audit, and have used a taxonomy that we created when we were doing our legal resource finder, which was we borrowed the Massachusetts Legal Resource Finder and created a version of that for North Carolina. So I used the same taxonomy for this and have been classifying each resource as like what legal issue it addresses and then what the audience is. And I've got places to check if it's legally sufficient and plain languaged, but very few things I know at this point are. So it's very much in the early stage of the process. And there's other fields as well, but that's the content I'm using or the process I'm using.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank
Great.
you.
Let's dive into the demo portion of our program. Shelley, if you would. Yeah, and maybe couple minutes, less than 5 minutes.
Okay. So this is our website content management Airtable. You can see it looks a lot like an Excel spreadsheet if you've never used Airtable before. The beauty of Airtable, though, is it's a relational database. So things that are on this sheet could relate to one of the other tabs that you see along the top. So you can have them linked here, and then you could open up another tab and see which of those things are pulling from those. And as we go through, I'll try to show that as well. So on June 30th of 2025, I got a list, and actually need to update this because I downloaded a list of all of our website pages, put them in here, and then started classifying them. And this is actually, it's more up to date than that. As we've been creating pages, I add to it. But we have the page name. This is the page as it would appear. We have the website. If it fits into some category or where it's classified, we have the about field or one of the other fields, content type. If we go over here to content type tab, I can see that we have 10 content types that we use on our website, and they're all listed here. And this is really helpful for me because I can't ever remember all the types, but also for future employees. As they come in, they'll be able to very clearly see the kinds of types of content that they have. At LSNTAP, before our new website, we had one content type, and everything was that content type. So now we're able to take advantage of the website features and the pre-built templates that our web developer created for us. I have a table of all of the topics that we have available to choose from on our website. And we have further divided those into whether the topics are to help an organization with client-facing needs, or if it is within the organization needs. So very clearly defines the kind of content that we expect to have on our website. And if it's not falling into these buckets, it's a chance for us to think about whether or not it should be on our website, and then how it could fit into these content types. Of course, there's always the ability to add more, but it helped us really think about our mission and how we want to present things. I have also gone through and we produce toolkits. You may be familiar with some of the toolkits, and I have a list of all the toolkits. And you can see here that we have the toolkits listed here. And then this is where the relational database comes in, because I can see this is for the 2023 data and evaluation toolkit. On the corresponding table, I would be able to see all of the pages that are listed in that toolkit. The structure, this is just the different parts of a web page, whether it's a block, or I guess not parts of a web page, how content is managed, I guess, on our website. So blocks, books, paragraph styles. All of that is listed here because for myself, I'm not a web developer. So these were all new terms for me. So I wanted to make sure that I kept them and had them available for the future. But let's go back to the main content so that you can see everything that we're tracking. We have the page name, we have the fields, we have the content type. Let me see if we can open up these, the additional information, topics. And yet, as you can see, this is a work in progress. We have not filled in all of these for everything, but you can see that we are starting to get them filled in. Like we have a topic of disasters. So this article fits into disasters. These field 7 is like the in the URL, without ellisonTap.org, this is the remainder of the URL. The full URL is listed here as well. The date that record was last modified. And you can track anything. If there's a URL redirect, I'm also looking at that so that we can find it if we ever need to, if we lose something along the way. Page priority levels, URL aliases. I mean, any information that you might want to track on here, you can put in here just as you would a spreadsheet. But as I said, being able to have that relation between the pages and between information on in the database, that's where Airtable is really helpful. And all the colors, I love color and organization that way. So if you're into colors, I was trying to see if I could find, this isn't as colorful as some of our Airtables. See if I could find, here we go. The books, you can see, you can color code things, so it also is easier to pick out. Airtables can be filtered. So if you ever want to group something, you could group by status. So, and it looks like status is not something that we're tracking on this page. We can group by toolkit. So very quickly, you can see different things in a toolkit. You could filter by any of the fields that you have in the Airtable. So let's see, where page type is a main page. So I could filter, and you can see that the only things displayed now are main pages within this Airtable. So just as a spreadsheet can be filtered, and you can't necessarily easily group in a spreadsheet. So that's one of the benefits of Airtable as well. I'm going to stop there. I don't want to take more than my time. But if anybody has questions, I'm always willing to do a demo.
Questions for Shelley about what you're seeing there?
Shelley, is the update time automated to fill out?
There you can't, so you can automate updates for like the last time that line in Airtable was updated. So yes, you can track that, but you can also do a formula to track when that web page should be updated. So I'm not sure which question you were asking, so hopefully I answered both. Laura?
So kind of to follow up on that, because this is all brand new. We do no tracking, and I've not used Airtable. So is the onus on you each time you edit a page on your website that then you have to separately go into the Airtable and record the date that you updated?
That is how I have done it when everything is up to date and things are going smoothly. But so yes, the short answer is yes. But what I would do now, since I've gotten behind, is go and do a report on the website and get those pages, and then I can just add, download that list from the website into like an Excel or a CSV file, and then upload those into Airtable so that they are in there without me having to manually enter them. Does that Make
Okay.
sense?
Sort of. I think also, like, I'm curious, as people are sharing more and doing demos, what platform you're using. I heard somebody mentioned Drupal. We personally here in Cleveland, we use WordPress. So our site is a WordPress site. And I'm also curious, again, as people are sharing or doing demos, if you're like, how did you start? Like, before you had your spreadsheet or your Airtable, was it a manual process to go through the back end of your site? Did you do some kind of work with a website company? Did you just download something like a report? Like, I'm kind of also curious about if folks could address that very beginning step process.
Sure. So I can answer that right now. So this was part of our website build. We had to go through content, and that was so painful that I never wanted to do it again. So that is what got me to at least keep a list. And then as have been attending these sessions, it got me thinking about other things. So it was part of the website build, and something that if you ever do have a website build that you will have to do is provide them a list of the content that's on your site. And for us, you can get that list through your site. I'm blanking right now on how I would do it, but there are ways to download your pages from your site. And maybe somebody will be able to pop that in there. So yeah, just from the beginning.
Why don't we move? Thank you so much for that, Shelley. And in fact, let me just I saw I'm answering the comment about automations and Airtable and I'll finish that out in just a second. Why don't we move on to Jay's demo? Because I think you'll see it's almost the flip side. So, well, actually, I'll just say what I was busy typing, which is that you can definitely do some automations in Airtable. You can do some stuff through Zapier to connect it to your website and things like that. But there's likely to always be an element of the manual. So it's Airtable, super customizable, always some manual. Jay is using his current CMS with some custom elements, which is, I'm suspecting, somewhat less flexible, but 100% of the time is going to be exactly what's in the website. So certainly correct me if I'm wrong, Jay. So they're kind of the flip side of each other. So Jay, can you go ahead and tell us a little about yours and hopefully show it? And then we'll certainly have more time for questions.
Sure, happy to. I'm working on a project to move content for 603 Legal Aid in New Hampshire from Squarespace into WordPress. And our first step was to set up a prototype of that content for our developers. And right now we have that prototype that we're user testing. And in the next month or so, it goes to the developer. And all of our management of the content is within WordPress. So I will share the prototype, which isn't live yet. But as I mentioned, it's in WordPress, and the content is hierarchical by category, which is just like most of the websites that we've been watching. And in any particular topic, we have individual articles. And it is absolutely true that moving from a unformatted platform like Squarespace into something like WordPress takes time. But when we did do that, we also added a lot of information in the back end about the content itself. Who's the owner? What changes have been made during what periods? And then all kinds of other information as well, the type of content, the topic. And we use a plugin called, I think, WP Sheet Editor. And it allows us to have a full spreadsheet of all of that content that can be sorted, used not as flexibly as Airtable, but certainly pretty good. And we can select different views of that content to be able to fine tune it for our particular need, whether it's for our managers or our subject matter experts. We have multiple post types. We have resources. We have a glossary, which came from LSC organizations in the state. And then, as needed, that same information gets exported out to Google Sheets to be able to share as needed for particular circumstances. So that's the quick overview.
Fantastic. When you export it out for a particular circumstance into that spreadsheet, do you then import it back in again? That seems challenging, or do you mostly leave it as is?
No, we can import and export via this plugin. And what's just important is the ID stays the same, and we can set it up so that only the columns that have changed get imported. Everything else stays the same. So it's just an incremental import. And so getting the content in and out is transparent.
Great. So this is a nifty, I'm not that familiar with this WordPress plugin, and I don't think there's anything immediately comparable in Drupal. Drupal's not as good as far as I know, at dealing with all kind of reports and things like that. Jennifer is asking the name of the WordPress plugin.
That particular plugin is called WP Sheet Editor.
WP Sheet.
And we chose WordPress because of cost. We before I started, there was an RFP that went out for a TIG grant, and responses and the request was open source, and the responses were Drupal and WordPress. And the bids we got back for Drupal were either the out-of-the-box system that a lot of states use, which is relatively limited, but it's inexpensive, or a custom Drupal build, which was 2 to 3 times more expensive than the WordPress. And the nice thing about this is I, as a consultant, will be able to throw together a prototype so that we can do user testing before it goes into the developers, because once they get hold of it, templates get hand coded, hard coded, everything gets really solid, and then it gets expensive making changes in the future. So we've been able to test it. We've been able to test pretty thoroughly using their design interface, and make a lot of updates to content before they move it into their final site. Laura has a hand up.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the inside of your WordPress where you showed kind of that review, the review fields?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So here again, is this the onus is on you? You make an edit to the website, and then you have to go into these fields and document that edit?
No, you're actually looking at the actual article. This is the live page. This is the editing interface for that live page. So if there's a change that needs to be
So I
made,
meant down below where you're tracking the review.
it's right inside the page.
So these notes for 2026, for instance, revisions
Yep.
in 2026. So is that you going in there and saying, this is what I did on this page on this date?
So our process is that when an article needs to get updated, it goes to the content owner for then distributing it to the subject matter expert. Their edits come back, we integrate them in, and these are hand edited, but there's also data in there about when the revision happened, when the modification happened.
I'm not sure you're ever going to be able to get around a manual process to this. Well, okay, so some of these are just authors and dates. So authors and dates you might be able to capture automatically. But if you wanted to know precisely what was edited, for instance, that's going to definitely be manual process. Well, I guess you could conceivably try to use AI or something for that, but yeah.
Well, and we can look at the revisions going back through this article over time, just using the built-in WordPress revisions, and it basically says what was added, what was removed. And that's always available built in.
Terrific. Any last questions on this before we look at Virginia's so spreadsheet-based process? Fantastic. Virginia, take it away.
Yeah, those were great. You know, I really nerded out about Airtable when I first started at Legal Aids, and I loved it, but that wasn't in the budget as an organization. So this is a DIY version. So with what we had with Google Workspace. And so we have a WordPress backend as well, but through Scaled Justice, which was pro bono net. So it was easy to get a list of all of our articles that we have, and then make sure that we have a Google document of that draft in place. And this is just my master catalog workflows to see the processes that's going on from an overview, but with videos and everything as well, with the YouTube link and the transcripts and the draft article. And so I'm able to quickly grab this list. If I want interns working on it, I give them certain permissions and instructions, and I can copy that and bring it into. So the pro of this is it's good for collaboration with getting a lot of help on it. I'm not an attorney, so I definitely do. And then on each document, I've made a template in Google Docs. And so I just kind of have like a sign-in sheet with the public facing link there. I copy and paste volunteer reviews when that's part of our workflow, and we're starting to gather holistically references for Lacey. But it looks just like the public facing article with how it's faced, and also has the outline for our guiding questions so I can easily jump to. And I'll have attorneys just provide suggestion, or I'll leave a comment and at them if I need a certain specialty attorney to be looking at it. And so, and then we have the Spanish version as well. So when we've made a change on the English side, I'll highlight the section in yellow, and then I'll mark it for translation needs to be done. And I'll have a volunteer intern or staff member help me with that. And so I thought about it, and I just thought it wasn't worth the time right now as we're switching later this year, but I was going to add more drop-down options to sort by category as well to get a great view at that. But it just wasn't worth it to me right now, where it's just me working on it and at a holistic view and moving. But, you know, I have our lists of catalogs and everything, our topics and subtopics, and our feature guides in certain ways too. So it's its own shared drive, so I can remove people too and add them if, you know, they're done with my work with me. And so I don't have too many cooks in the kitchen, which has been really important. So that's our DIY method before having money. So yeah.
No, and I think that there is, thank you for that. I think there is something like, as you're just getting started, there's not that many people, not overcomplicating things has a big benefit. And that can often look like a spreadsheet if a spreadsheet is what you're familiar with. So questions for Virginia?
I was just wondering if she could pop back over to the section on like it was like who's working on what. I kind of missed that, and I just was kind of intrigued. Okay. So you kind of just say like it's a small list, but
Can you leave it here
okay.
for just a second? I love the idea of layering, like using Google Docs new capacity to layer tabs is a way to track like nuances on the same document. So you've got, when you talk about like, what is each of these touches, every time somebody touches it and updates it, you're tracking that in this log?
So this is, that's already captured in a way automatically. So if I take out of suggesting mode, I can see past versions as well and users that have touched it. And so that's already a aspect of Google Docs. And so I have that always there, but I don't want to always have to deal with that. I want to see at a quick glance who has touched it in the past while. So as soon as tabs came out, I added this. I also wanted to keep track of the years past of volunteer reviews and then when they've been touched or looked at so people can check them off when they've done that. And like I have 2 different groups working on these docs right now in different capacities. And so with interns, I'm like, use red font for any changes, and then attorneys use suggesting or comments. And so I kind of have my own guide in being a dictator in this that it makes sense to me. But yeah.
And
Yeah,
then can I ask
and
a
you
follow-up?
mentioned, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask for maybe a less sophisticated question, but so I love that again, somebody can use this article to make suggestions and comments. And then how does the content in that document relate to what you've posted online? Is it completely separate and different, or is it somehow linked?
Yeah, that's was my complaint when I first mentioned it, that the dream is to host it, all the information, reviewer input, and everything in one place. So not double dipping work, but I'll see their suggested changes and I'll kind of workshop it on this draft here. And then I'll go to my back end of WordPress and then update the content there. And then double check it and then update all my like Excel sheets. I also have to then download this Google document and upload it to the back end of Lava. We have a chatbot that's knowledge base is our Law Help website. So any change, I just go ahead and download it from this and upload it there. So in a way, I have made it as minimal as possible of keeping records, but it's still duplicated.
And then can I ask one more follow-up? Do you have a workflow or have you been able to figure out any way to be notified when a volunteer finishes a review of something, or is it just manual, they email you?
So when like an intern or volunteer, I have statuses on their sheet. I do a lot of projects, so I don't want notification. I want it block my days. So for the website project, for instance, they don't have access to my drafts. I have a template that they use and put notes on. They just copy the Google Doc and make a template. So, but they have the public information facing and they sign up on their own and claim their articles on their own. And I go in and grab the volunteer view, just quickly copy and paste it and document, update my sheet says volunteer review available, and then check it off once I recorded their volunteer hours. So that's my workflow with it, where I'm just trying to quickly block my days and just do the work.
I love it.
Yeah. But for the interns, they're using on the direct. I gave them training on how to like sign in to the doc, how I'd like them to, and what exactly to use. So I gave them trust with my drafts, which they can't break either because the real thing's on the website and I can grab it again. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Fabulous. I was gonna break us out into small groups, but we're actually a relatively small group already. So
Laura, can I ask one more follow-up question before we move off of Virginia?
Yes.
About
Yes.
the references, because that's something that I've wondered about a lot. Like, as I think about how to keep content up to date, if one law updates, how do you know every article that touches that law? So I love that you're doing that. And I wondered if you've created, do you just search within the entire database for a particular, here it would be NCGS 50B-1, right? If that updated, you would just do a search, or have you thought about doing some sort of like cross-referential thing where you're linking to a statute?
That's we just received a grant this year, so we're working to adopt Lacey. It's a learning legal aid. Have you heard of it? It's an automated content intelligence that attorney and Lone Star Legal Aid developed, and it's open source, so it's available for all legal aids. You just need to have the money and time to build it. But that's something we saw as worthwhile, and that's why I'm working so hard to grab these references now, because in preparation for adopting that Lacey, it will flag us when the primary source, the public listing, statutes, comments changes. And so then our articles with that reference will be put up, and it'll be in a standalone Drupal platform where this will be. So that's something I've been working for with the projects I manage to prepare for. And so in the meantime, I just listed out, these are ideal authorities we want you to cite. And then I took the time to put it in this drop-down list that they can search and select. So I have it in this quick grasp way. I have it in the Google Docs, and the interns are citing it in line. So hopefully we have a good batch to get started with when we get on that.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to talk about it more off time.
Thank you again.
And Jay, I see your hand up.
I just wanted to share that we at ITC, we talked with Luigi about Lacey and getting monitoring information about changes to rules and statutes. And he mentioned because we're working with WordPress, and also because New Hampshire does not have a really easy system, that wouldn't work. And I just wanted to share that we did find a vendor that is happy to do that for any platform and very little cost. And we also found a service called Legiscan, which does that kind of tracking. And so this particular vendor is going to be monitoring our site, and after seeing that there's a change to a statute, sending us recommended new text for the paragraphs that have changed. So there are multiple options out there, and we were really excited to find out that there was something that would work with our system.
Jay,
Ooh, do you have a name for that vendor?
Yeah, they're QED42, and they actually have a full CMS option that they do with Illinois or Iowa. And it is Drupal based, but this particular monitoring system is a standalone, and it sends us pings when there's a change. So it's not fully integrated, but it still does the monitoring and recommendations.
Ah, nifty. Fantastic. All right. So Jay had asked for 5 minutes at the end to talk about two of the things that he was doing. But before we do that, wait, no? No more?
I don't even need 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, so a couple minutes at the end. I wanted to just do some reflection and sharing back. Especially for you guys you folks who have been hanging back a little bit and watching and thinking, I'd love to hear some of the things that you're thinking as you see all of these. What is this meaning to you? Anybody willing to share something?
I
One
think
thing
for me, implementing something, even if it's as simple as a spreadsheet, which I think it would probably have to start out as, it might give me more leverage in terms of getting updates, which I really scrape to do. I have a hard time getting buy-in on that. And if I was able to show, because there are some units that are on top of that and interested in it, and others that are completely disinterested in it. But if I could show that, which I could with even a spreadsheet, it might get me more buy-in for updates. That's what I'm thinking. And I did not have this on my radar in any way, me bad, but this is a whole new idea to me.
No, great. What else?
I find because I'm at a legal aid, I'm not running the help site for the state. I'm just at a legal aid. It's tricky because we have so many different purposes and audiences for our website, because we have information for volunteers and for donors and for client-facing material and about every event that we do. And, it feels overwhelming. So it's interesting to learn from folks. I don't know if anybody has templates, like a Excel template to start that they would be willing to share. But yeah, it feels like a big hairy beast.
It is a little bit of a big hairy beast, but even starting by downloading out of your system in whatever format you can, and then starting to clean that up so it's a little less techy and a little more public facing or internally facing would be interesting.
I'm not totally sure I can do that in Squarespace. Jay, you might have some insight into that.
Uh,
That's one of the limits of Squarespace. It almost might be easier to do it from like from analytics to get started on it.
I agree
Um,
with that. So Google Analytics would let you
yeah,
do that, or Google Search Console would probably let you do that.
yeah.
So,
We also, with Squarespace, used this app for Mac called SiteSucker. And it basically, you give it a URL and it downloads an entire site and localizes it on your machine so that you have the URLs, you have the content, um, and it's free. But I got to say, it saved us because the Squarespace export was really bad.
And I mean, Laura, to your point about overwhelming because of events and so on, I totally agree. I mean, I do every event on the website, but I'm thinking of it like I don't think I would do every event. Just because of what you said. I don't think I have the capacity to deal with that. And I think it does overwhelm me to think about. But when I was thinking about implementing some piece of it, it was more for like the news section because the news section goes way back and I haven't really dealt too much with deleting or archiving content and things like that. So I was thinking about starting with more of the news page, and more of the longer standing kinds of things than the events. I don't know. I'm a one person shop, so
no, no. Great. And Sarah, Angel, Karen, any thoughts? Anything you're taking away?
I think just, yeah, appreciate everyone's ideas and what's working for them. The kind of management system that I was referencing is so we have our Law Help website, which is all the legal information and articles, and then we have a mtlsa.org, which is more of that donor facing kind of like this is the organization's website, and we are actually redoing that. And so I'm just got some gears churning about obviously the content on that mtlsa.org is drastically lower than on our Law Help website, but still thinking about it's kind of the opportunity for a clean slate of how to organize that information too, because we do have a number of programs that get a lot of outside interest and people search for it. And so we want to make sure that that information about those projects and programs are also updated by the right people on staff. And so this is just making me think about, yeah, our current legal information site and then our new kind of organizational website as well.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good to see sort of the gamut of, from something fairly small to what you could get to eventually. But, for us, we've not done anything yet, and I'm fairly new to the position, so just starting to think about that. Because I was talking about doing just like even a quarterly review of the entire website, but I hadn't even thought about tracking that along with all the individual documents that we have housed on the website as well. So kind of putting all of that together in one place, I think would be incredibly helpful because we have spreadsheets spread all over the place for all different things. So yeah, just I think starting small with us, and just seeing some of those ideas, that's very helpful for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. And so just to wrap up, before handing over to Jay, so thank you so much for coming. Next month, we're going to be looking at content curation. So thinking about when it makes sense to link out to somebody else's content and how to do that, and why you might want to do that. Certainly, there's lots of good things to link to, but also in an age of like the Fed taking things down, like, do we want to do that? And yes, we will probably have a presentation on one organization's kind of thought process for doing that, and then a discussion. Fantastic. And Jay, over to you.
Sure. I just have two really quick requests. One of them is related to that prototype that I showed earlier. We're in a 2 to 3 week window where we are loving feedback before it gets kind of locked down. And so I'll put my email address in the chat, and anybody who's willing to take 10 minutes to just take a look, first impressions, and provide some feedback, that would be so helpful, because we surveyed so many legal aid websites to try to match a lot of the features that others have done, like AI search and chat and translations and tooltips and QR codes and all that. And there's a lot in there. And so anybody who's willing to, my email address is j.collier@thecompass.com. And that would be so appreciated. Secondly, we're really excited about this proposal process for ITC 27, but we don't feel like we have enough to actually propose something just for us. So we would love to be a part of a panel with other people and organizations of any sizes, of the things that you've learned in renovating or rebuilding your websites, or what's important to you, and also anybody who's using WordPress. So it's kind of a big question, but we kind of want to partner up and find a couple of others to kind of present with us. And there's only I think 10 days left. So again, if you're at all interested in just kind of being in a panel, and what we were envisioning is some presentation, but mostly just like popcorn, asking people in the audience what their tips and tricks and the things that they've learned, sort of as a collaborative sharing opportunity. So that was my second request, and that's it.
Fantastic. Laura, Jay is mentioning ITC. So I put Jay's email address in the chat. Jay's asking about ITC, which is in San Francisco. It's always in February, March-ish.
Somebody told
Is
me
it
it was
in
in
San
New Orleans.
Francisco?
I think it's
New
New
Orleans.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's in New Orleans in
New Orleans is actually
late
what's in my
January,
head
early
when I said
February.
that. Sorry. Sorry.
And
Thank
I
you.
went for the
I was
first
not
time.
familiar with what we were talking about. ITC. I'm on the link now. Thank you.
And it was amazing. It was the first time I'd gone, and it's just a really great 3 days. And so that's why I was hoping to find others who wanted to go to.
Fantastic. So I put Jay's email in there, and we will leave it there. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you again next month, if not sooner.